Okay, good morning, everyone. It's right at 10, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I want to thank each of you for participating today in our Justice Grants Solicitation Workshop. My name is Aloysius Anderson, and I'm your Justice Grant Programs Manager. Today, we have a good amount of information to cover, so let's jump right in. First, take a minute to please enter your name and your agency that you represent into the chat box. Remember that your microphone will be muted to avoid unnecessary feedback and interruptions. If you have a question during the presentation, please enter it into the chat box. A team member is monitoring the chat, and we'll have a short question and answer after each program presentation, and then again before the conclusion of the workshop today. If you have a specific question to your agency, don't hesitate to give us a call, contact any program manager or coordinator, and we can assist you after we conclude today's workshop. Some of you may have already noticed that our title has changed slightly. This year we're using FFY 2023. So no, we have not skipped a year. We've just made a slight title change to coincide with the federal fiscal grant period. The presentation today will include live presentations from myself and the program coordinators, as well as a video towards the end. We will also conduct 2 polls to collect information from you, and finally, there will be an evaluation. We ask that you stay to the end, but this workshop is being recorded, and the PowerPoint presentation will be available on our website for you to reference. Today's workshop will cover the Juvenile Justice Formula Grant Program, Project Safe Neighborhood, Burn Justice Assistance Grant, or JAG, which will open later today, the Paul Coverdale Forensic Science Improvement Program, and finally, the last round of the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Fund, which has recently been extended through 2024. At the end of the grant program presentations, there will be a financial requirement video, along with a few words from our financial team, followed by application development resources and some helpful hints. This is our current grants team. Phil Riley is the Office of Highway Safety and Justice Programs Division Director. Joy Brunson is our Grants Administration Manager. She's over Highway Safety as well as Justice Grants. Later on, you will have an opportunity to write down or record our contact information as it is listed throughout the presentation today and available on our website. Poll number 1. Give us a second here. Which category best describes your involvement in criminal or juvenile justice? We'll give you about 30 seconds because we've already taken 30 to complete this poll. Are you law enforcement, prosecution court, corrections, other government agency, or non-government agency? Okay, thanks everybody for participating in that poll. We see we have mainly law enforcement with us today, with some others from non-government agencies and prosecution court. So again, thank everyone for participating. For those of you who may be just joining, please take a second to enter your agency as well as your name. I'll go back to sharing my screen and we'll get back to our PowerPoint presentation. There will be a second poll later on, and we appreciate your participation. The poll really gives us an opportunity to help you. Make sure I got everything on. Okay, our first grant is our Juvenile Justice Title II Formula Grant, also known as the Charles E. Grassley Grant Program. Of course, this program goes towards the improvement of our juvenile justice system in order to change young lives. Not all states participate in this grant program. South Carolina has been participating, however, for over 40 years. The Governor's Juvenile Justice Advisory Council was established as a state advisory group for this program, and the South Carolina Department of Public Safety is the agency designated to administer the program. This act establishes 4 core protections that states must monitor and maintain compliance with throughout its juvenile justice system. Federal standards set to ensure a minimum level of safety and equitable treatment for young people who will come into contact with the justice system. The 3 core protections are deinstitutionalization of status offenders, adult jail and lockup removal or jail removal, sight and sound separation for youth who are in the system to be sight and sound separated from adults, and then racial and ethnic disparities. The racial and ethnic disparities requires that states have a plan to address any disparities that exist. Compliance with the other protections require that South Carolina report juvenile detention data and information. SCDPS employs a compliance monitor whose role it is to collect this data and information in collaboration with state and local law enforcement, detention, and juvenile justice service agencies. Each year, the compliance monitor must audit the data and report it to the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, who determines a state's compliance. If a state is out of compliance in any area, there's a 20% penalty imposed upon that protection. The following are the eligible applicants: state agencies, local units of government, tribal governments, and private nonprofit agencies. Keep in mind that all new applications must include letters of support. Additionally, private nonprofits must also provide evidence in the form of a letter or email from your local or state government that either you approved and were denied or that funds are not available for your project purpose. Title II Formula Program is 100% federally funded. Programs and practices promote juvenile justice and delinquency prevention and systematic improvements, and they must relate to the core protections and address program areas. Your allowable expenses include personnel and training, program-related conferences and travel, and the cost of space used for the benefit of the program. Unallowable expenses are land purchases, vehicle purchases, new construction, and any unapproved purchase expenditures. Remember that you must, if awarded, you must request approval for any purchase made, even if it's an allowable expense. The priority areas for South Carolina have been determined to be community-based alternatives to detention, the deinstitutionalization of status offenders, or the DSO priority, and reducing racial and ethnic disparities that exist in our juvenile justice system. Projects that address truancy and runaways, divert youth to community-based diversion programs, seek to reduce racial justice and ethnic disparities are all examples of proposed programs. Listed here are the federal authorized program and budget areas. Proposed projects must fall into one of these areas and address the state priorities. If you have more questions or need clarity, contact us before you begin your project development and we'll assist you. Again, this is a long list, but this PowerPoint will be posted on our website. Here are the important dates to remember as you prepare your Title II formula application. The solicitation release date will be on Monday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2022. SCDPS grants new user registration deadline will be on Friday, April 1st. That's not a joke, 2022. And then applications are due on Friday, April 15th. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Aloysius Anderson, here at the department. I'll be more than happy to assist you. We currently are seeking a compliance monitor, juvenile justice specialist, who will be assigned as the program coordinator for this particular grant program. Do we have any questions? If you have questions, please enter those into the chat now, and we'll answer those at this time. I'll give you a couple seconds to enter questions into the chat. Anybody? No questions? Okay, we don't have any questions. We'll move right along into our next program.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Kingston. I'm the program coordinator for the Project Safe Neighborhoods Grant Program, or PSN. PSN is designed to fund innovative projects to reduce gun and gang-related violence. The United States Attorney's Office for the District of South Carolina has been designated to receive funds for the PSN program. The South Carolina Department of Public Safety's Office of Highway Safety and Justice Programs has been designated as the fiscal agent to administer these funds in South Carolina. PSN is a nationwide initiative that brings together federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement officials, prosecutors, and community leaders to identify the most pressing violent crime problems in a community and develop comprehensive solutions to address them. Eligible applicants. Many of the same agencies may apply to this program as our other grant programs. They are state agencies, local units of government, tribal governments, and private nonprofits. Same rules will apply here as they do as many of our other grant programs. Police departments, sheriff's offices, and public defender's offices are not eligible to apply directly, but would be the implementing agency for that grant. The city or county would be the legal applicant. A solicitor's office for grant purposes is funded as an office within a lead county. PSN program is implemented using these 5 design elements. Leadership and partnerships involve meaningful interactions between and among communities, law enforcement, prosecutors, and other stakeholders, which is an essential component of an effective violence reduction strategy. Target enforcement efforts that utilize a full range of available data, methods, and technologies to identify the offenders that are driving violent crime rates, prevention of additional violence by prioritizing efforts, such as ensuring the public awareness of the violent crime reduction strategy, communicating directly to offenders about the consequences of continuing violent behaviors, and supporting local, state, and federal prevention and reentry efforts, along with accountability for results based on outcome, not merely output. Alrighty, program priorities. Gun and gang crime investigation and suppression, which would be programs or task forces to target perpetrators of gun and gang-related crimes. This can include the illegal possession of firearms, the illegal sale of guns, or other crimes committed to benefit a gang. Multi-agency cooperation should be demonstrated. Firearms analysis. Programs that should enhance and support for state and local law enforcement agencies that analyze firearms and ballistic evidence. Data analysis research partner. Programs designed to assess and validate the nature and extent of gun crime, gang activity, and gang membership. Data analysis to identify the drivers of violent crime and assess the effectiveness of agency's violent crime reduction plan. And finally, prevention and reentry programs. These should be programs designated to violent crime prevention and the identification of persons at high risk of offending. Okay. And this link here is to the PSN Training and Technical Assistance website. This is where you can find resources such as discussion boards facilitating peer-to-peer and subject matter expert engagement, links to register for upcoming events, up-to-date facts and statistics on violent crime victimization and trauma, and a national and regional PSN directory map. All right, so some important dates to keep in mind. The grant release date is very similar to the JJ program we just talked about on Monday, February 14th. Any new users to the SCDPS grants site should register by Friday, April 1st. Applications will be due Friday, April 15th, and notifications, like many of our other grant programs, will go out sometime around October 2022, with the grant period of October 1 to September 30th. Justin Holloway is our point of contact for the PSN program at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So there is his information. Pause here really quick. As always, I will be here to assist you throughout the application process, so please feel free to contact me with any questions. You may also send your application to me at any time prior to application submission for a one-time review. Okay. Do you have any questions? Aim free.
Could you please elaborate on data analysis research processes?
So the data analysis research partner piece of the program is if you are working on, I think, for example, we're working on with the NIBIN systems currently, right? So we're looking at someone to kind of research the impacts of that system and how it's reducing violent crime in those particular areas. Things like that would be an example. But if you have any questions on any specific programs that you're working on, feel free to contact me and we can definitely talk about your specific situation.
Thanks for picking up on that, Amy. I'm sorry I was muted.
No, you're perfectly fine. Say no. It's perfectly fine.
Seems to be a theme with me. But I believe that was the only question that we had. Does anybody else have any questions for Amy and the PSN program?
Alrighty, hearing none, I will actually switch it over to Ms. Mandy here to go over the JAG program.
Right. I'm going to get started with JAG. And everybody, good morning. It's so great to see everybody. My name is Amy Free, and I'm a program coordinator for the Criminal Justice Grant Program here at the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. And I do work alongside Mandy Bowden, and together we coordinate the JAG grant, and you'll get to meet Mandy soon. The purpose of the JAG program is to support state agencies and local units of government in carrying out specific programs that improve the criminal justice system. So let's dive right in and see who eligible applicants are for that program. Eligible applicants includes our state agencies, let's see this, sorry. They include state agencies, local units of government, tribal governments, and private nonprofits. Our state agencies, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Local units of government, tribal governments, and private nonprofits. Now with local units of government, those are our police departments and our sheriff's departments. With our police departments and sheriff's departments, they are not able to apply directly, but they would have to apply with their county agencies. So what that means is the city or county would be the legal applicant or recipient and manage the grant funds on behalf of the department or agency. So in that situation, a representative from the city or county would have to be the official authorized to sign. JAG is a 90% federal funding and it has a 10% non-federal cash match. And funding is up to 3 years based on an annual evaluation, and you must apply each year. JAG projects have to be, there's never a guarantee of continuation for a JAG program, and it's also dependent on the availability of federal funding. So you have to reapply each year. So we try to make sure that everyone knows that it's dependent on how the grant does. Some allowable expenses for a JAG program include personnel, training, supplies, equipment. Everything is dependent on if it's related to the authorized program area. Expenditures have to be related to the implementation of the actual program, and everything has to relate back to the initial program narrative of the application. And that's always important. Also, if personnel are part of your grant, the personnel have to dedicate 100% of their time dedicated to grant activities. Authorized program areas include law enforcement, prosecution and court programs, planning, technology improvement, corrections and community corrections, drug treatment, enforcement, prevention and education, crime victim and witness programs, and also mental health and related law enforcement programs. Let's go over and cover some state priorities of funding. One of the program areas we have for South Carolina is law enforcement and prosecution programs. These cover gangs and violent crime investigation and enforcement programs that include narcotics or domestic violence, equipment and technology enhancement programs that include officer safety and local and state forensic programs. We also have priorities that include officer wellness programs, crisis intervention teams that are also known as CIT programs, and behavioral programs, and correction and community correction programs. And these include diversion alternatives or incarceration, or diversion programs that include alternatives to incarceration programs, or reentry and recidivism reduction programs. So I'm going to take a second and hand over the program to my co-worker, Mandy Bowden, and you will get to meet her. Mandy?
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. I'm Mandy Bowden. I am a program coordinator here that is assigned to the JAG grants. Let's move on for a couple specific grant applications, some information on those. If you are applying for a grant for a task force, We must include a letter of support from all agencies that are involved with the task force. These supporting documents must be with your application in order to be considered for funding. The other thing that we must have with a task force application is that you must accompany a draft of a written interagency task force agreement. No signatures are required on the draft at that time. However, the task force agreement must be submitted for approval through our office, just to ensure that all issues regarding personnel, seizures and forfeitures, and program income have been addressed. Okay, and then if you are applying for a grant for a drug analysis laboratory, you must include a statement indicating intent to provide drug analysis services to all law enforcement agencies within the respective jurisdiction. These services should be provided at no cost to the agencies. Just to clarify that this does not mean all of your lab services must be provided at no cost. This is only in reference to the grant-funded equipment being requested in your application. Okay, we kind of wanted to just give you a snapshot of what JAG awards looked like last year. We were awarded $3.5 million in JAG federal award funds. We received 106 applications, totaling $12 million in requests. So that's just kind of to give you an idea of how competitive the JAG funding is. And we were able to fund 100% of the available funding that was awarded to us. And then some of our current projects outside of equipment grant awards, these are some current projects that were funded last year. We have a batterer intervention program. We have a domestic violence and violent crime prosecutors. There's a gang and domestic violence investigators, multi-jurisdictional task forces, and a drug enforcement tech specialist. Okay, and then this is what your JAG calendar is going to look like. If you are a new user that needs to register in SCDPS grants, that deadline is going to be Friday, March 11th of this year, 2022. And then the JAG application deadline is going to be due Friday, March 25th of this year by 5 p.m. So yes, unfortunately, you will have to wait about 6 months prior to grant award announcements coming out. Those will be expected in October of 2022. And then the grant period award starts October 1st of this year and runs through September of next year. Okay, and then if you would like some inspiration on some up-and-coming programs, we just wanted to share this. The National Criminal Justice Association website provides this page, which offers justice trends and promising practices in each of the JAG purpose areas. We just ask that you keep in mind that although there are 8 federal authorized areas, which Amy mentioned just now, South Carolina does not include all of these in our funding priorities for the state, which were also just mentioned. But you can go on here and click on each of these purpose areas, and there's more information on programs around the country. So you can find that on our website, and then you can also find other development tools and resources. There is a sample JAG application. There are sources for data. Our office will also provide a one-time review of a grant application prior to submission if you would like. Okay, and on behalf of Amy Free and myself, please feel free to reach out to us for any questions related to JAG programs or grant application questions. We would be happy to assist you. And I think Amy Free is gonna check and see if there's any questions in the chat box related to JAG programming.
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, we'll give a minute to see if there's any questions in there. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Alrighty, hearing no questions, we're gonna move along. And again, my name is Amy Kingston, and I'm also the program coordinator for the Paul Coverdale Forensic Science Improvement Grants Program. All right, the purpose of this grant program is to improve the quality and timeliness of forensic science and the medical examiner coroner's office services. Among other things, funds may be used to eliminate backlogs in the analysis of forensic evidence, including controlled substances, firearms examination, forensic pathology, latent prints, question documents, toxicology, and trace evidence, and to train and employ forensics laboratories personnel as needed to eliminate such backlogs. Coverdale program may not be used for research. However, applicants may address emerging forensic science issues and technology through implementation of new technologies and processes into public laboratories. So who's eligible? Eligible applicants are limited to state agencies and units of local government. All applicants, whether state agencies or units of local government, must have a developed plan for forensic science laboratories that is designed to improve the quality and timeliness of forensic science or medical examiner services. For purposes of this solicitation, a state local government entity is performing forensic services is considered a forensic science laboratory if it employs one or more full-time scientists with a minimum of a bachelor's degree in a natural or formal science. For example, chemistry, physics, biology, computer sciences, or a closely related field, and whose principal function is to examine, analyze, and interpret physical and/or digital evidence in criminal matters and provides reports and testimony to courts of law regarding such evidence. Law enforcement units operating outside of the crime laboratory function, such as crime scene units and other entities that engage exclusively in evidence collection and documentation, are not forensic science laboratories for that purpose. Medical examiners and coroner's offices are treated as forensic laboratories in this case. Alrighty, I want to briefly talk about non-accredited laboratories. So starting in 2020, we began funding worthwhile projects from unaccredited laboratories to include specific requests for assistance with accreditation. Any subrecipient that is not accredited must certify in their application to using a portion of their grant amount for accreditation purposes. If the subrecipient does not comply with the accreditation requirements, South Carolina may impose corrective sanctions, including but not limited to declaring subrecipient ineligible to receiving future awards. And we'll talk about a little bit of that in just a little bit. So what are the eligible expenses? That would include personnel, could be for forensic science or medical examiner, coroner office personnel. Computerization, which would be to include upgrading, replacing, leasing, or purchasing computer hardware or software. Equipment can be used to upgrade, lease, or purchase forensic laboratory or medical examiner officer equipment. Supplies, funds can be used to acquire forensic laboratory or medical supplies. Just a note, to ensure compliance with the National Environmental Police Act and Department of Justice regulations, Coverdale awardees will be required to submit additional information at the time of award. Applicants should also note that award recipients whose proposals involve the use or purchase of chemicals may encounter delays in the release of their award funds, pending satisfactory completion of those NEPA review process. Let's see. For training, education, and certification, funds may be used for appropriate internal and external training of staff that are directly and substantially involved in providing forensic science or medical examiner coroner office services. All education and training activities must be designed to improve the quality and the timeliness of forensic science or medical examiner coroner's office services. Grant applications should demonstrate that the proposed training is directly related to their job position and duties of the individual receiving the training. Funds may also be used for program expenses related to facilities, provided expenses are directly attributable to improving the quality and or timeliness of forensic service or medical examiner office services. Funds may also be used for renovation and or construction undertaken as a part of the applicant's program to improve the quality and or timeliness of forensic science or coroner office services. There are some limitations to the use of funds for new facilities. The Coverdale law does limit the amount of funds that can be used for the cost of constructing a new facility, or maximum amounts are determined by the total amount of the Coverdale grant and the total amount of funds available for Coverdale grants nationwide. So keep that in mind when you think about that. There's a little bit of a catch there. Eligible expenses are also accreditation, as we did talk about. So I want to briefly touch upon opioid and synthetic drug-related projects. With the alarming increase in opioid deaths and things like that, and at the effects it has had on many crime laboratories, we are now welcoming any opioid and synthetic drug-related projects. All applicants that must clearly indicate in their budget line items if they're looking for a non or opioid related project. Grants are requested for projects. Let's see. Sorry about that. Must clearly indicate in each budget line item whether it is opioid related or non-opioid related. Additionally, if grant funds are requested for projects to address challenges posed by the opioid crisis, the program narrative must also describe the challenges posed and how the requested funds should help address that. Okay, so I'm going to briefly go over some of the key documentation that should be included in your application. I added this, hopes to facilitate some of this, because I know a lot of our applications from last year may or may not have included this information. So in order for your application to be reviewed, we do need this additional documentation attached to your application. One being that accreditation documentation, obviously, if that is applicable. That certification as to forensic laboratory system accreditation will also have to be with that, whether you are accredited or not. There's also additional certifications for that development of a plan for forensic science laboratory that I mentioned earlier, as well as the laboratory practices and procedures. The other two, certification and external investigation and that use of funds for new facilities, will also have to be included in your application. If you have any question in regards to the certification or the accreditation piece to this, I'm more than welcome to answer any questions or go through that with you. There is an exception to that accreditation process, excuse me, Obviously, there's an exception for medical examiner and coroner's offices. Okay, so some important dates to keep in mind. The Forensic Science Grant Solicitation release date will be Monday, May 2nd. If you are a new user to the SCDPS grant system, you do have until Friday, June 24th to register into the system. Applications will be due 2 weeks later on Friday, July 8th by 5 p.m. This is a little bit different, I know, for our forensic science applicants, where the grant period will now be October 1 through September 30th to be more in line with the rest of our grant programs. Grant award notifications will hopefully go out October, as same as with our other programs. And again, as always, I'm here to assist you throughout the application process. So please feel free to contact me any questions, any specific questions on the accreditation, the certifications, or if you would like to have your application reviewed, I'd be more than happy to do that prior to submission. All right, are there any questions? Any questions? All right, hearing none, I believe there is one more poll for us.
Amy, I believe William Williams is asking if we can show the last slide. Can we do that?
Good.
William, if we're not able to do the last slide for you, this presentation will be available for you online, or we can make sure and email this to you. So just know that we will make sure and get that for you, okay? Also, Lynn Zhang has another question. Lynn, again, I'm sorry if I messed up your first name. Lynn has a question and wants to know how much total funding is available for the juvenile justice grant this year. Aloysius, can you answer that for Lynn?
Sure, I can answer that question. Annually, Lynn, we see right at about $500,000 for the juvenile justice allocation. And so the award amount is usually around that.
Okay, and also Tyler from Greenville County Department of Public Safety has a question regarding the one-time review for the grants. And he's asking, is it just a review for completeness, or is it addressing the quality of the content of the application also? Tyler, that is a great question, and it is a one-time review. It is a basic review for completeness, and it also does address the quality of the content. We do our best to help you write the absolute best application that you can. We try to make sure that you go over and include all the data and make sure that it falls within the priority areas. We do everything that we can one time to make sure that you have the best application submitted for funding. So that's a great question. Thank you for that. Lynn has one more question. She is asking 100,000, right? I had some audio issues, so just wanted to confirm, Aloysius. She wants you to just state your answer one more time. She had some audio issues, Aloysius.
Okay, year to year, what we've seen on average from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention has been about a $500,000 award. Now that can, if, as long as we are in compliance, we will receive 100% of our allocation. There are times when we are out of compliance. If you noted, DSO is one of the core protections that is a priority, excuse me, in South Carolina, has classically struggled maintaining compliance so it could be a 20% discount, which would reduce that number, but we usually see around a $500,000 allocation.
Perfect. So Lynn, it was 5 instead of 9. So it does sound the same, but it is a big difference. So I hope that helps everybody. Is that all the questions that we have so far? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
We have one more question slot in from Captain Kellett at Greenville County, and she's asking how much funding is available for JAG. Captain, that typically ranges, it is a percentage of crime rate and population for South Carolina. So typically it ranges right around 3 million, 3.5, somewhere along that line. So it's something that we, we're not quite sure how much it's going to be. So right around the 3.2, 3.5 area. So we don't really know exactly, but it's somewhere along there. It sounds like a lot of money, but as Mandy was explaining, we have a lot of applications. It's very competitive. So, we do our best. So thanks for asking that question again. That's a great question. And Wanda has another question. Wanda Pearson, regarding the program coordinator's position, what's the process to apply? All of our applications are posted on the South Carolina Jobs, SC Jobs website. And Losius, if you can go further into detail as far as how to apply for that, that would be great.
Actually, Amy, thank you for that question. But the process is pretty self-explanatory once you get on the site. But if you would give us a call here in the office, we'd be more than happy to help you.
Perfect. All right, Jessica.
So it seems that we lost Amy Free. She may be having an internet issue. But I've got a question here from Jessica Wells. She says, since we've covered the others, what is the approximate allocation for Project Safe Neighborhood funding? And Project Safe Neighborhood funding is usually around, and I say usually around because from year to year, depends on administration. Funding levels may increase or decrease, but we've seen about $280,000 over the past 3 years, and we expect that to remain the range. So between 280 and 300,000 is usually the approximate allocation for Project Safe Neighborhood funding. We have any other questions? All right, chat's not moving right now. So our polling results. Our next question for our poll is, my agency currently has a Justice Grant Award through DPS. Yes, no, or not sure. Take a second to let us know. Again, I thank you all for your participation. Couple more seconds there. All right. Thanks, everyone. We're going to close that up. Okay, so we've got some experienced program or project directors, program coordinators out there, grant managers. So we appreciate you coming, and we got some new folks. So I hope that we've been thorough enough so that you new folks get a good idea of what programs we have available, and that we've been brief enough to where our experienced folks feel like they're informed, but that it's valuable and we're not wasting their time here. So let's move on to the next grant program, which is going to be the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program. Let's see if I can get my screen shared here. Okay, the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program was awarded in 2020. We expected that program to last until 2022 this year, but we have received an extension on that program. We did not receive an additional allocation, but we received an extension in order to provide whatever funding we have that's returned to us from prior projects. So that program is still in our portfolio, and we will begin accepting applications for that very soon. Again, this is a very common slide here. Our eligible applicants are state agencies, local units of government, with the caveat that we've shared, tribal governments, and private nonprofits. Each program must have a nexus to criminal justice and be utilized to prepare, prevent, and respond to the coronavirus. An additional caveat is that data suggests that domestic violence and violent crime have increased since 2020 as well, and since 2020 and the onset of the coronavirus. So the BJA, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, has authorized the use of coronavirus funding to assist agencies in their efforts to reduce crime in these areas. So while initially our first offering of the coronavirus fund focused very much on personal protective equipment and projects that would increase social distancing, there are a few more items, and if you would call us, we'll give you clarity on how to apply for coronavirus this time around. One thing to keep in mind is that typically we try not to fund short-term personnel grants. So that's just an office practice throughout our program. So the coronavirus, this will be the last offering of that. And that project period will run from October the 1st, 2022 to September 30, 2023. Again, the coronavirus program is a 100% federal funding program with no cash match. And solicitations will be open for that on February the 22nd. Your allowable projects include purchasing overtime, equipment, supplies and training, travel expenses, and addressing medical needs of inmates in state and local and tribal prisons. There are no specific unallowables, but the unallowable costs are identified on the DOJ grants financial guide, and they're very similar to the JAG unallawables. The coronavirus funding cannot be used as matching funds for other federal programming. So you have a 10% cash match on JAG. You cannot use your CESF funds to match that, to make that 10% match, as an example. Again, this will be the last funding round. There are no specific priorities, but we do ask that we strongly encourage that your projects be focused on items or programs, projects, equipment that will outlast and continue to provide use beyond the end of the project period. Projects that reduce crowding in detention facilities, that increase virtual court or virtual proceedings, and then projects that continue to facilitate social distancing expanding conference rooms and training, moving to virtual type settings and meetings. Few important dates for the coronavirus include the solicitation release date, which again is Monday, February 22nd. The DPS new user grants registration for new users. The deadline is Friday, March the 25th, 2022 at 5 p.m. And then applications are due in SEDPS grants by Friday, April the 8th. Now, we won't be available to assist you after 5 p.m., but the grant system, the SEDPS grants, will continue to accept your applications up until 11:59 p.m. And again, Amy Kingston is your program coordinator for the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program. Many of you know Amy. She has been with us for quite a while. She was primarily one of our JAG program coordinators. She's taking on additional responsibility, as you can tell. She's doing a great job. And if you have any questions on this or any other projects, give her a call here and she'll be happy to help you. Okay, we'll take any questions at this time for the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program.
Thanks, Aloysius. Angela Terry has a question and she wants to know, can she apply for the CESF grant if she already has received one?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can apply similar to our other grant programs. You must, apply year to year. And your application, we do in your review process, we do consider past grant performance. But if you have had a CESF grant with us in the past, even just recently awarded, you can reapply. Any others, Amy?
That's it for now.
Okay. All right, I'll give you folks a couple of extra seconds. Okay, up next, Lakeisha Bryan asked a question. I saw that. She said, how much funding is available? Lakeisha, we actually have allocated 100% of the coronavirus award for South Carolina, but we are expecting to receive funding reverted from past projects and programs. We won't know the extent of that amount until the 45-day closeout period is complete for our projects that recently ended. So, that I can't answer that question accurately right now, but we like to see as many applications to assist as many agencies as we can when that deadline approaches. Okay, we're going to move right along. If you don't have your volume turned up already, go ahead and turn your volume, adjust your volume. We're going to present a grants accounting video right now. That will give you application and budget instructions. That will be followed by a short question and answer led by Penny Baskin. Many of you know Penny. She's been with us for a long time. She's very knowledgeable. She'll come before you here at the end of the video and answer any questions that you may have.
Hello, my name is Gerline Pierre. Hello, my name is Gerline Pierre. I would like to welcome you to the 2021 South Carolina Department of Public Safety Office of Financial Services Virtual Grants Workshop. The financial requirement procedures is to ensure consistency and accountability in securing and managing grant funds. Please use the Accounting Grants staff contact list with any questions or concerns about your grant.
Terms and conditions. Subgrantees are responsible for all terms and conditions of the grant, so please read before submitting. Please submit all inquiries to the grant accounting email at grantsaccounting@scdps.gov. I will highlight the terms and conditions below. audit requirements, non-supplanting agreement, contract approvals, sole source, obligation of grant funds, utilization and payment, recording and documentation, financial responsibility, program income, retention of records, and property control, use, and disposition. Please refer to the grant application for the terms and conditions. Supplanting. To deliberately reduce state or local funds because of the existence of federal funds. For example, when state funds are appropriated for a stated purpose and federal funds are awarded for that same purpose, the state replaces its state funds with federal funds, thereby reducing the total amount available for the stated purpose. Make sure to use agency's funds before using federal funds. Purchase approval. Approval to purchase is required for all purchases, regardless of the amount, by submitting a quote, estimate, or shopping cart to grants@scdps.gov. Please see email examples below. Please note that grants cannot be processed without purchase approvals. Procurement. If you have any procurement questions, please refer to the procurement website. Contact SCDPS Grants Accounting for approval before proceeding with any purchases. Please note that purchases 0 to 10,000 must be fair and reasonable. Purchases 10,000 to 25,000 must have 3 quotes from qualified vendors. If 3 quotes cannot be obtained, must solicit an SCBO. For small purchases, 25,000 to 50,000, it must be advertised in SCBO for at least 7 days, unless a shorter time frame is required and approved. Visit the MMO website for estimates of budget items at www.procurement.sc.gov. Please visit the procurement website for state contract. Contact SCDPS Grants Accounting for approval before proceeding with any purchases. Please follow the instructions on how to create an SCBO advertisement. Contractual services. All contractual services will need to be advertised in SCBO for 7 days if you don't have the following: an existing contract with a vendor that is on state contract to perform the desired service. The next tab we will go over is travel. Travel costs must be consistent with your agency's policy and procedures. Under travel, we have mileage. Follow your policy up to state limits. The state follows federal policy. Complete travel support documents for reimbursement. Travel support documents must be submitted with the signature of the employee and supervisor. Please note, rate currently approved by the Comptroller General is 56 cents per mile. This is as of January 1st, 2021. We also have under travel, per diem. Follow your policy up to state limits. Listed below are the in-state and out-of-state rates per day. Submit your internal form documenting the number of days and amount claimed. Contact us if you do not have a form. The form must be signed by the employee supervisor or grant official. The last tab under travel is lodging. Please follow your policy up to state limits. The state follows GSA rates. Verify lodging rates on the GSA website at www.gsa.gov at the time of grant budget preparation. Note that rates vary by location. If your location is not listed, the current default rate is $96 per person per night. Travel related to training or conferences. Exceptions are registration goes in other category. Submit a copy of the hotel/motel receipt. This should also be reflected on the agency's internal travel approval form. Equipment category. Equipment category includes any individual item $1,000 or over. Vehicle packages include accessories. Computer packages include printer/accessories. Exception, software. Please note that software should be listed under Other category. Make sure you obtain a reasonable quote for all your equipment items. If you are granted an award, please submit a copy of your receipt or invoice when submitting for reimbursement. Please keep in mind that only items purchased within the grant period will be reimbursed. Other category. Other categories consist of office supplies and materials, utilities, maintenance, printing costs, registration fees, advertising, lease agreements, indirect cost, telephone, software, and office rent. Please note, there is no miscellaneous allowed. Please submit a reasonable quote for any items you are looking to purchase that are a part of the awarded budget. Make sure to include a copy of the paid receipt or invoice when submitting for reimbursement. Only items purchased within the grant period will be reimbursed. Property control form. Each item of equipment acquired under the grant with grantor funds must be reported on this form if the cost of the equipment is $1,000 or more and has a useful life of 1 year or more. This form must be included with the final request for payment for the grant. The final request for payment will not be processed without this form. Instructions for completing the property control record form are printed on the back of the form. Review of matching requirements and rules are funds from states or local units of government that have a binding commitment for grant programs or project. Funds donated mainly to private corporations, organization, or individual. Program income and the related interest earned on that program income generated from projects with prior approval. Notes on budget narrative. The notes on budget narratives are: the budget narrative should be used to explain why the items listed in the budget are needed. Show each budget category and provide detailed explanations for each line item. Do not provide dollar amounts in the narrative. And pay special attention to unusual items or salary increases from year to year. Provide additional details. The final tab is certification tabs. Project director, implementing agency/department, head or person involved in the daily operations of the project. Financial officer, city or county finance director or state agency chief financial officer. Official authorized to sign are the mayor, city or county administrator, or state agency director. Please note, these must be 3 separate individuals. This concludes the financial requirements and procedures for South Carolina Department of Public Safety Office of Financial Services Virtual Grants Workshop.
If anyone, I'm Penny, by the way, and sorry. If anyone has any questions. If you're new to the grants, please don't hesitate to ask any questions. The mileage change, as Alessia's just reminded me. I told him I didn't need notes, but I do. Is 0.585. It changes January 1 of each year. So by the time you get your grant next year, if that happens, and I hope everyone gets one, it'll change again after the grant starts. If you follow the federal rate, you don't really need to worry about putting the actual dollar per mile in the grant. Any questions on that? Okay, on the per diem, let's find that slide. There was a question on that.
Just talk about it.
Hi,
Okay.
Juanita. I believe this is in the video, and I don't believe we're going to be able to go back to the video and actually pause it, but we'll be able to post this webinar, and you can go back and watch the video and print it out maybe. So, or maybe even Penny can send you something with the per diem in that, and she'll be able to email it for you, okay?
That's correct. Now, we do follow the federal guidelines on per diem, which it may be higher than your agency, or it may match your agency, but we do match the federal requirements on per diem. Any other questions? Well, I will turn this back over to Aloysius, and he will talk with you just for another moment or two.
Okay, thank you, Penny. Thank you for everyone for staying tuned. I want to remind you that the grant, this video that you watch will be posted on our website as well. Let's get my camera back on here. The video will be posted on our website. Here's a snapshot of our website. Each program page has a link to the program solicitation and additional videos to assist you as you develop your application and submission. There's also a tutorial on how to register for your user account in SCDPS Grants Management System. The application instruction videos provide helpful examples as well as hints for completing your application. So I encourage you to visit our website. This is the Justice Assistance Program page, but each program has the workshop, will have the workshop video, but it also has program information slides and very helpful application instruction slides, which include problem statement and project purpose, and how to create your project objectives and performance indicators. You'll also find other application tools there, actually examples of different projects that we received in the past and how we've broken those into categories to assist you with completing your application. So use our website and use our contact information. We'll be more than happy to take as many calls from you as needed to assist you in putting your application together. Okay, this is your last opportunity to ask questions. Again, I really appreciate everyone, your patience as we're living in this virtual world now. Of course, we'd rather be there with you, shaking hands, meeting everyone, sitting down with you and spending time hearing what your challenges may be. We've been doing some application or project development with some of our stakeholders, and we encourage you as you get ready to prepare your application or as you're in the, developing your project program ideas, you give us a call so that we make sure that your idea or your project program targets our South Carolina state priorities and they fit into a funding area that's applicable to the grant that you are seeking. So I'll give it a couple more minutes. Amy Freed, do we have any questions in the chat right now?
Angela Terry is saying that her question is not related to the current grants, but when will there be another equipment grant? Our Lady Enforcement Agency needs a new live scan badly.
So, you asked about equipment grants. So you've seen several grants, programs that are available for equipment grants. And for something that's specific to your agency, I encourage you to contact us, Angela. But live scans may fall under the JAG program, for equipment. And so, that's one that you should consider, and give us a call here. Call Amy or Amanda, Amy Free or Mandy Bowden, and they'll be more than happy to assist you with that. You're welcome. Anything else, Amy?
I don't see any other questions. Surely somebody has another question.
Okay, well, while we give you one last opportunity, we will be sending you an evaluation, and it'll be not as short as our poll questions, but it'll be a few questions for the eval. If you would please participate, that'll just help us improve. You know that we haven't done this much. We did do a grant workshop, a grant management workshop, and we often do monitoring as well virtually, but we'd like to hear from you so that we make sure our presentations are clear, they're succinct and concise. Got a question in the room? Well, there was a question about the full financial services team. If you go to the website, I think we didn't have some of the new folks listed on our project presentation, on our program presentation today. But on the website, you'll find some new folks. There's Geraldine is with us, James is with us, Nicole is back with us, who used to be in the coronavirus program. So we encourage you to reach out to these folks. Anybody you're familiar with can point you to the right person.
Also, guys, if you can take a second and scroll back above and Ms. Terry's question to the evaluation link that we sent out, you'll see a blue link. If you click on that link, you can fill out our evaluation link. We would appreciate that to give us some feedback as well. Those are always helpful to us. We have another question here from Kevin. And his question says, historically, we rounded numbers on grant applications. Are we using real numbers now with 2-digit decimal points? Ms. Penny, can you answer that question?
The answer to that question is that Accounting Grants is using real numbers, actual dollars and cents to reimburse you. So they need to enter real numbers, dollars and cents in their grant proposals, applications? Yes, 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 you do.
Well,
Good question, Kevin.
Okay, so Kevin, if the system does not allow you to enter dollars and cents, because this is a change that may not be actually added in DPS grants yet. So if you cannot, the system won't allow you to enter dollars and cents, then I would suggest rounding up in your dollar amount, but you will be reimbursed according to dollars and cents.
Miss Tracy Dove from Richland County has a question, and she wants to know, does that begin with new applications or is that for the current RFPs as well?
Hey, Tracy, for your current RFPs, you will get reimbursed according to dollars and cents. Yeah, and I think
not for the final.
Not for the final on last year. How about give Grants Accounting a call on that? And they'll be able to clear it up for you. You'll have a program, a coordinator or a fiscal tech assigned to your specific program. If you already have a grant, if you don't, we'll be able to provide more information for you.
Thank you, Jessica from Somerville. I believe Aloysius just cleared everything up. If you could reach out to